California's premier casino resort. Cache Creek is the place to play a hot hand on our world-class gaming floor, indulge at our luxurious spa, or catch a live performance from your favorite acts. It's all here, just a short drive away. This is your time to cash in at Cache Creek Casino Resort, official sponsor of your Golden State Warriors.
Searching for your next set of wheels? Get pre-qualified at CarMax and see your personalized monthly payment for any of our cars with no impact to your credit score. Because CarMax has made it as easy as a Sunday drive to get your financing options with the shopping experience tailored to you, so you can get the car that's right for you and right for your budget. Get started at CarMax.com and compare your options in just a few easy clicks. See CarMax.com for details. CarMax, that's car buying reimagined.
And that's another three from Clay. The Warriors are heating up here at Chase Center, and I cannot believe you are not here to witness it. Oh, steal by Draymond over to Curry from downtown. That's a new career high without you here to see it. Unbelievable. I'll tell you, Bill, how would it feel to not be here right now?
Crushing, John. Crushing.
Here is where it happens. Experience the Warriors at Chase Center. Tickets on sale now at Warriors.com.
United is proud to be the official airline of the Golden State Warriors. But this story goes beyond basketball. It's about United and the Warriors teaming up and showing up for Bay Area communities of color. Through the franchise fund, we're helping minority-owned businesses, from manufacturers to a local cosmetics brand, get the funds and resources they need to thrive. Because when good ideas find their champion, we all win. This is the story of an airline and a community when good leads the way.
A podiatrist will tell you about your feet. An orthopedist will tell you about your bones. A physical therapist will analyze your gait. A psychologist will help you manage your anxiety. But what if they're all connected? What if your walk affects your hip alignment and the loss of movement affects your mental health? At Kaiser Permanente, we know the body is connected in unseen ways. That's why our doctors work together to care for all that is you. Kaiser Permanente, for all that is you. Learn more at kp.org.
The roar of the crowd. The sweet sound of a swish. Nothing beats being there live at Chase Center for the game, Warriors fans. And Ticketmaster is your official gateway to buying and selling the best seats all season long. Ticketmaster verifies every seat sold, guaranteeing that getting into the game is a layup. Be there live to defend Warriors ground this season with seats from Ticketmaster.com/Warriors. Ticketmaster, the official marketplace of the Golden State Warriors.
Been listening to the Golden State Warriors Audio Network, presented by United Airlines.
This has been a presentation of Odyssey Sports. For even more coverage of your team, download the free Odyssey app and listen to your favorite stations, shows, and podcasts.
That's a wrap.
Yo, that's a wrap. It was an amazing experience. Hope everybody enjoyed it. Hope we got some laughs, some good entertainment.
This is Warriors Wrap Up on 95.7 The Game.
Curry dribble drive all the way, right hand runner over Vucevic, knocked it home.
That's just beautiful.
Number 30.
Yeah, Steph Curry doing the best he could to try and get the Warriors back in the game, and the Warriors did trail in this one by 17 early, and the Warriors would flip that around, lead by 8 early in the third quarter. But other than a hot stretch shooting the three ball, which lasted throughout the ball game, 21 of 51 for the Warriors. In this one, they go on to lose, giving up a 40-point fourth quarter and 73 in the final two quarters, 132-118 the final. We welcome you inside Warriors wrap-up here on 95.7 The Game. John Dickinson with you, 888-957-9570. That is the phone number to give me a call or shoot me a text here, as we'll be rolling up until 4 o'clock, maybe a little bit past 4 o'clock here, trying to make some sense of the Warriors again dipping below the 500 mark, now 21-22 on the season, and just unable to build any kind of positive momentum away from Chase Center. And the Warriors with the San Antonio win on Friday night. A lot of the discussion was, and we talked about it on Warriors This Week earlier today, talked about it on the pregame, that today and tomorrow's games were really going to determine this Warriors road trip. And flat out, and we'll get into a number of the reasons why, but there's no other way to put it, this was a gutless effort by the Golden State Warriors. It was gutless. They got down 35-20 at the end of the first quarter, 7 turnovers in the first quarter, just careless basketball. DeMar DeRozan is out for Chicago. But the one thing, and we talked about this in the pregame, that the Bulls have done really better than anything else that they've done as a team collectively this season, they've beaten name-brand talented teams at home. So you knew they were going to play hard, having lost a couple in a row to Oklahoma City, having lost 3 in a row overall. And this is a team that has beaten the Milwaukees and the Brooklyns and the Bostons a couple of times in that building, Miami's in their building at United Center. And so you knew the Warriors were going to get a max effort, as the Warriors always get. And this is another game where, for the Warriors to lose in the fashion that they did, giving up the 35 in the first and 40 in the fourth and trailing by as many as 17, it's just it's gutless. The effort level, the focus level, the defense, the horrible shot selection at times, and bad shots and turnovers leading to fast breaks. Zero interior presence from the Warriors, allowing the Bulls to score 56 in the paint. Nikola Vucevic eviscerated them inside, outside, really starting from the outside, making 5 of 10 from three-point range, and he goes for what was a career high, equaling 43 points in this one. And it just, I don't know, at some point the Warriors have to decide that they have an understanding as a team that they have to come out and play purposeful and play hard, and that it's not just a matter of having Steph and Clay and Draymond and Wiggins all just available and in the arena, but they actually have to come out and compete. And the Warriors' compete level, and compete can go a couple of different ways. It can be, are you trying to defend? It can be, are you playing forcefully? But compete can also be on the offensive end. Are you running your offense with a purpose, or are you lackadaisically moving the basketball, sloppily dribbling the basketball, and taking bad shots? Because that can be what I like to call low-effort offensive play. And I thought the Warriors, for the most part, were low effort in this game offensively, and that allowed the Bulls to get rolling, allowed the Bulls to start feeling better about themselves. And then it got to the point where the Warriors were getting embarrassed early, down 15 into the first quarter, and it was like, oh, we got to play. We got to start playing now. And the Warriors, for the second quarter and the first couple of minutes of the third quarter, locked it in a little bit. They also started to hit three-point shots after knocking out a couple in the first quarter. They end up getting hot in the second quarter. Klay Thompson and Stephen Curry specifically. Jordan Poole was playing pretty well. They were able to have the three of them out there at the same time. They got a couple of stops, but I felt it was more, they didn't turn the basketball over. Only 4 in the second quarter turned the basketball over after 7 in the first quarter. And it just felt as if the Warriors kind of no-showed today in the first quarter, and then tried to get a grip and get it together in the second quarter, and were able to ultimately have a 3-point lead at 62-59 going into the break. They come out, they score the first 5 points of quarter number 3 to take a 67-59 lead, and then it's basically all Chicago. From that point on, it's basically all Chicago, and the Bulls go on to outscore the Warriors 33-24 in the fourth, 33-19 from that moment in the third quarter after the Warriors had scored the first 5, and then 42-30 in the fourth quarter, and just no answer for Nikola Vucevic, and the Bulls go on to win this thing 132-118. So 888-957-9570. We're going to hear from the head coach of the Warriors, Steve Kerr, coming up here momentarily, but it was as resigned, without really associating any kind of blame a Steve Kerr as you'll ever hear in the postgame press conference from Chicago in United Center that's going to be coming up here on 95.7 The Game. You look at the turnover problems. Who are the main culprits? And this was yet another thing that my guy Whitey Gleason and I talked about early this morning here on 95.7 The Game. It's typically the primary ball handlers. And Steph Curry, 8 turnovers of the 23. Draymond, 6 turnovers. So 14 of the 23 turnovers from Steph Curry and from Draymond Green combined in this one. And you just can't have that. I mean, the margin for error for the Warriors right now, they got to come out. They got to compete. They got to play buttoned up. They got to take good shots. They got to have almost a pseudo playoff-like intensity, even in the regular season, to be able to, hang in some of these games. And so, and be able to compete in these games and be able to give themselves chances to win some of these games. So it's not just a matter of, hey, get everybody back and now it's go time. It's get everybody back, it's go time, and you also have to be able to execute. And the Warriors just had not been able to execute at all. Steph Curry, 8 turnovers in this one, some bad shots, and again, it just allowed the Chicago Bulls to get rolling in this game and gain confidence. And once it got rolling and they were able to gain confidence, they were in it for the long haul. The Warriors just couldn't get any semblance of stops in this one. To the point where down the stretch, it just felt like, is there a run coming? Maybe the Warriors got a little hot from 3 again, hit a couple of threes where you thought, all right, 8-9 point game, could be a little bit of action there. But no, nothing doing, because the Warriors were just void of any legitimate opportunity to get a stop. So this is just a disheartening effort, I think, more than anything. And you look at the Warriors now, top to bottom, and they can't win on the road. And this essentially negates the game against San Antonio the other night in San Antonio in front of the 68,000. And now the Warriors find themselves where you look at them against the Eastern Conference, and hat tip to our buddy Anthony Slater for this one, 1-10 on the road against the East in 11 games. They got 4 more to go. Washington and Boston and Cleveland among them here to close out this trip, but losses to the Hornets, Pistons, Heat, Magic, Bucks, Pacers, and Sixers, not so bad. Nets as well. Those were all without Steph Curry. But then the Knicks and now the Bulls. Only road win against the Eastern Conference came against the Raptors back on that road trip right before the holiday. And the Warriors can keep talking about the fact that they are ready to lock in and ready to make their move, and how jumbled up the Western Conference is, and how they don't care what the seeding is going to be. At some point, they have to prove that the regular season isn't just completely beneath them, because today was a flat-out joke. It was a joke. It was an embarrassment. It was gutless, and frankly, it's not championship worthy. The caliber of effort on display there, and I don't think we've ever seen the Warriors have this level of DGAF, as the kids say. Again, where a couple of days ago it was time to lock in, time to get it rolling, go time is now. Time to make some hay here moving forward. So really ugly stuff. And now you got a quick turnaround, and Klay Thompson's not going to play tomorrow in the nation's capital. And then the real tough games of this road trip, Thursday and Friday in Boston and Cleveland, will take place. And who knows? Maybe the Warriors in Boston and Cleveland will figure that those games are worth their time, to the tune of having an effort that might be able to allow them to compete and maybe get a couple of road wins. But whatever the case, that was not the case in this one, with DeMar DeRozan out for Chicago in a matinee that not a lot of people were probably paying attention to, because people are watching the NFL. 888-957-9570. 888-957-9570. Jimmy in Bayview up here on Warriors Wrap Up on 95.7 The Game. What's going on, Jimmy?
What's up, brother? Just trying to get over the fumes from that stank-ass game. But I think the Warriors need to reevaluate how they use the three-point shot. When they're down like 6 or 7, they start jacking, and then they're down 15. And also this whole, Warriors, I'm going to make the most amazing pass, and then they spend 3 turnovers trying to make it. It's like they got to give themselves a fighting chance. And also, with their age, I'm thinking it's unrealistic to repeat. They might try an every other year thing because, they're playing 80 games and they got age, and, they obviously got a championship hangover. And maybe it's more realistic to go every other year from here, like the Giants. Hey, thanks.
Yeah, thanks for the call. I mean, at this point, as far as that goes, they've said that they felt they needed to get on a run, and felt that the reinforcements were coming, and felt that this road trip would really, be what could be a jumping off point on the Xfinity mobile text line. JD, is this another wake-up call from the 760? Let's face it, this team just doesn't have the urgency or focus to make the playoffs, much less win a championship. I think that's the thing that is the most frustrating, is that I think people believe that if the Warriors did get into the playoffs and were the 6 seed or were the 4 seed, that they would be able to, hell, even if they were a play-in team, that they would be able to flip the switch and be dangerous and make a run. The problem is, and the frustrating part, the aggravating part of all of this right now, is the fact that they don't have the focus to put themselves into that position. If they could just get to 5 or 6, if they could, get to 4, which is right there in front of them on the table, if they could win any road game against an Eastern Conference team that's just mediocre, which they haven't been able to do, if they could do that, it would be right there for the taking. And then even if it is only a 45 or a 46 win team that gets you to the 4 seed or the 5 seed, I think people would think they've got a shot, but it's just they continue to play as if it's beneath them to even try to do that once they get on the court, even though they've said at the end of some of these games and in between some of these games that they do believe that this is, the effort level has to get better, and that because it's so close, they feel like they can cobble together some semblance of a run. You win by the 3, you lose by the 3, and I think at times the Warriors, and this was the case today, 21 of 51 from three-point range, and when you are hitting shots and you are feeling good, then you do tend to take more of them. And I think the misses, even though you're making a good percentage of them, the misses can still lead to some poor defense on the other end. And the game just has not been connected for the Warriors. The quick shot, bad misses, they're just not good enough defensively to take a lot of quick shots or bad shots. They're especially not good enough defensively to be turning the basketball over and giving up runouts. To teams that want to get out in transition and get layups and allow them to get comfortable. So there is a fine line there between wanting to take shots that you're good at, and the Warriors are, the number 1 team in terms of their percentage of offense coming from the 3 ball, and they are efficient at knocking down the 3 ball, and the 21 of 51 and 41% is another. It proves that point to be true here, but you still have to be a little bit careful. And I think the thing that's probably the most galling for the Warriors is the fact that they just can't seem to find that balance or play with enough forcefulness, enough care to be able to put together some kind of a run. It is a fraction here that we're talking about of better, smarter play that could put them in a spot to where they can win some of these games. And today I thought was just a case of they get down and then they decide to start playing. 35-20, time to start playing. They get the lead by the half, put 42 up in the second quarter, hot quarter, more energy. The Bulls cooled off after their hot start. Then they get the first 5 of the third, as I mentioned. They go up 8 at 67-59, and at that point, the turnovers come back, the bad shots come back, and you're thinking, okay, it's almost as if they didn't have it at the beginning. Then they got rolling, got in the point where they had control of the game. And then once they got a little bit of control of the game, they let up and went back to going through the motions, take some bad shots, turnovers, no need to play defense, just kind of ho-hum. Regular season doesn't mean anything to us. We're kind of bored type performance, almost thinking that the Bulls weren't going to be good enough once they got down 8 to come back and put a run back on them to where it wound up, putting them back in a vulnerable position. And the Bulls immediately come right back and take the lead and go on a run themselves. And then the Warriors are having to make the uphill climb again. 26-9 run for Chicago after the Warriors were up 8 to put the Dubs back down 9. And the Warriors got a little bit hot again there at the end of the quarter, and then start of the fourth quarter, it's more turnovers. And then the fouls came at the beginning of the fourth quarter with the Warriors putting Chicago into the penalty at that point very early in the fourth quarter. And the Warriors weren't going to be catching up at that point playing at that level. 888-957-9570, 888-957-9570. John Dickinson here on Warriors Wrap-Up on 95.7 The Game. Let's go ahead and hear a couple of minutes of the head coach of the Warriors, Steve Kerr, as he addressed the media after an ugly performance.
Yeah, gave up, I think, 41 to Vucevic. What was the issue?
Well, he was scoring inside and out. He obviously a guy who's capable of stepping out and making 3-point shots. So he made 5 of them. And then, he's good at driving closeouts too, and got inside the paint, got some easy ones. And, I thought our coverages broke down several times, but he got rolling early. And, once he got hot, it became really tough to stop.
The coverage is breaking down. What are the issues you're just seeing with the team defense right here?
We're having trouble just stacking together good decision after good decision, because that's what this game is about at both ends. You're not always going to make shots, but can you execute offensively without turning the ball over? And then can you execute defensively over and over again? We always talk about stringing together, 3 stops in a row. But, you foul a 3-point shooter here, you leave strong side corner there, a bad offensive possession leads to a run out. It's just really hard to build any traction in a game defensively. And so we're just not solid enough right now to be able to do that.
What led to all these turnovers today? 8 for Steph, 6 for Dre?
It's just one of those games.
Why do you think it is you guys have had just such inconsistent performances
that we have as a team?
Yeah.
And I don't know. You can make all kinds of excuses, but nothing. It doesn't matter. Like, everybody's got excuses. Everybody has injuries and guys in and out of the rotation and all that stuff. So we got to do better.
You mentioned recently, the overuse, overburden on Looney and Draymond with a lot of your backups front line out. I mean, tonight, obviously, spotlight on that a little bit with Vucevic going. I mean, did you think that played a role? Just, lack of reinforcements behind them and the fact that they might be a little bit tired?
I don't think so. These guys have been around for a long time and won championships and, played at a really high level. They're smart as can be, but Vucevic is a really good player. I mean, he's a skilled player, and it's got to be a team effort to slow him down and to connect the game. It seemed like they had 7 or 8 just stampede fast breaks that ended up in layups or dunks. And that's because of poor offensive possessions, either difficult shot attempts or turnovers. So it's tough to win that way.
Point of attack, a big problem too. Just keeping a guy in front.
Yeah, I mean, they got past us tonight quite a bit. Levine and Caruso, they got into the paint and diced us up, and then you we're minus 12 on field goal attempts. Everything else in the game is relatively even in terms of the rebounding and the free throws. They got 12 more field goal attempts than we did because of our turnovers. They had 10, we had 23. So gave up 31 points off turnovers. It's almost impossible to win a game doing that.
It is impossible to win a game doing that, regardless of opponent, regardless of the situation, regardless of how many of your top guys are out there playing. And the Warriors had their top 7 playing in this game tonight. Again, Curry and Clay, Wiggins and Draymond, Kevon Looney, and only 83 field goal attempts. The Bulls wind up with 95. That all is the turnovers. And I'm at this point kind of done with the whole wondering when the Warriors are going to stop talking about it being time to make their run and when they actually decide that that the game again is not beneath them. Because that's something that's just sticking in my craw today, is the fact that it was just like, you know what, afternoon game, Chicago, everybody's kind of focused on football. We're just going to go through the motions. We'll hit some threes. The Bulls are they're not going to be into this, which, again, foolish to think that because the Bulls have beaten brand name teams all year long in that building. Like I said, it's the only thing that they've done well to this point. So because you're the Warriors, you're always getting the first flight effort from the opponent. But to think that it was just, we'll hit some shots and then the Bulls will wilt or we'll flip the switch defensively for a couple of minutes and go on a run. I mean, how many times have the Warriors tried to flip the switch defensively in an attempt to go on a run and have it just not be there at all? Or just, they start fouling or, they erase a couple of stops by taking a couple of bad shots. I mean, it's just, again, I'm waiting for, and maybe this team's just not good enough. I mean, that's the other part of this equation. It is difficult to say, and I think Warrior fans don't want to admit it because of the championship acumen and because of everything that these guys have done. And look, a game on January 15th in Chicago in the middle of a regular season where you've been mediocre and banged up and all of that, it doesn't take away a thing from what the Warriors have accomplished over the big picture, long haul of their careers. But at some point, you lose the benefit of the doubt and you become who you've shown yourself to be for this season. And it doesn't just get to be all about what you've done in the past as far as this season goes. And, I just keep waiting for the opportunity. I mean, I didn't love the comments, and I know it was jokingly, but coming out of the post game after the San Antonio game about needing to play in front of a big crowd and the 68,000, which was incredibly cool in San Antonio as the attendance record was broken. But nationally televised game, Friday night, San Antonio, most people ever at an NBA game, and the Warriors go out there and they look real comfortable in that environment, as you would expect, even against a team that probably has the worst roster in the NBA. But there was even a little tone of, that game was worth it, but other games are not worth it. At some point, this team has to decide that all of these games are worth it. Otherwise, we're just going to be talking about getting the 7 or the 8 seed and who you want to play in the play-in tournament, who do you don't want to play in the play-in tournament. Can you flip the switch? Can you win 2 series without home court? Can you win 4 series without home court? It's just, there are no more trap games. There are no more. There have been no trap games. When you can't beat Orlando and Detroit and Charlotte on the road, you lose the right to talk about trap games. The 510 is preaching. No more games they're expected to win. Absolutely. I didn't expect them to win today. I expected them to come out and compete today. That's the issue that I have. And, they let Vucevic get going. And, again, I think thought they could win. And they've won some games on the 3. They've won some games by just hitting 23s. And I think that's another area where today becomes so alarming because they have had some games where they haven't played all that great, but they've outscored teams and they've hit a bunch of threes and they've been able to, at home in particular, with a couple of minutes of good defense and down the stretch of games, win those games. And it kind of gets glossed over as if, all right, now it's time for the run to come. But on the road, they just have not been able to do it, because on the road you have to do it for longer. If at home you play 8 to 12 hardcore quality minutes and that's good enough, on the road it's got to be twice that, sometimes 3 times that, because often teams are going to keep coming. 510 Xfinity mobile text line. They can flip the switch, JD, but the bulb has blown out. I think there are times where it has appeared that way. No question about it. I think there are times where the Warriors have appeared to try and search, reach, flip for something, try to find a level, and it hasn't been there at the level that they've needed it to be. And I think that is problematic. And at some point, I think players start to realize it. And that's where you can get mad about it or you can be resigned to it. But at some point, and I don't have a doubt that the Warriors, with all of the championship acumen that they have, are not embarrassed by the fact that they're losing some of these games in the fashion that they're losing them. But at some point, it's not about talking about going out and putting out the effort. It's about going out and doing it. It's about going out and treating a game like today the way they treated the Memphis game on Christmas, or the way they treated, the Charlotte game that week after Christmas inside Chase Center. To me, it's about that. That's the key for the Warriors here moving forward. Let's go to Jerry at 888-957-9570. Hey, Jerry, you're on Warriors Wrap-Up on 95.7 The Game.
Yo, hey, this is Jerry, not to be confused with Jimmy. But I think you touched on something, JD, about how this roster was constructed. And when you've got a real, high-end, top-paying roster, and then they don't play, they get hurt, they get older, they don't play back-to-back, and then you've got a couple of rookies, you got a buster on the bench, you've got Iguodala who plays when he wants. The roster is constructed in a way that it's being shored up by freaking G Leaguers and minimum salary players that they expect a lot out of. And like you were saying, maybe this team is not good enough, or maybe it takes a couple years to construct a bench. I mean, they got lucky last year. I mean, everything fell into place, but it takes a while to construct a team and to gel. And, there's a lot of busters on this team. Let's not get it twisted. And, you've got Draymond playing his ass off and he doesn't score. I mean, there's a lot of things that need to be taken care of. Thanks, Bus.
Appreciate the call. 888-957-9570. Final couple of minutes here. Warriors Wrap-Up at 95.7 The Game. We'll hear from Clay in just a second. The 240 on the Xfinity mobile text line. JD, it's the first time ever I've heard anything negative from you about the Warriors. Maybe Bob Myers finally addresses the front court. Look, the issue is, if the Warriors are going to address the front court, it's not some plotting big man that's going to get in the paint and bang with a guy like Vucevic down low. Like, if they're going to get a big man, it's going to be a big man that could, like the lack of a big man is not the issue here. It's the lack of energy from the smalls that used to be able to run some of these bigs off the floor and make them unplayable. That's the issue. The Warriors are going to, something in their bag right now, and they're trying to, figure out best ways to combat other opponents. And what they're finding is they don't have the juice consistently with the smaller lineups to defend and rebound and switch. And it's a grind. It takes a lot out of you. And the Warriors don't have the ability to do that to this point. And I think they're finding that level that they're trying to go to and find and hit, unattainable, essentially. And that, I think, is becoming frustrating for them. And look, it's not getting any easier tomorrow because the Wizards are not a good team, but the Bulls are not a good team. And the Wizards, though, with the Warriors coming in as defending champions on a holiday afternoon game, are going to bring an effort. And so the Warriors are going to have to match that effort, and now they're not going to have Klay Thompson. They wasted a game where they hit 23s tonight, 21 to be more specific. And now Klay Thompson, who actually shot it well, 8 of 15 from 3 for Klay in this one, 26 points, and now he's going to be a DNP tomorrow, so you're going to have to figure out how to do it without him, which means you're going to have to play with a lot more purpose and a lot more focus. All right, before we get out of here, let's hear a couple of minutes of Klay Thompson, who I am told was not happy after this one.
I mean, is it the 23 turnovers that you feel like was most, responsible for the loss, or just, general defensive trouble?
I would say the 23 turnovers definitely hurt, but defense wasn't great. We'll clean it up for tomorrow night.
When it gets to the playoffs, confident that you can beat anyone. But at this point in regular season, what is a concern level?
None. Zero. Just get us there healthy in one piece, hopefully with a decent seed.
Vucevic scored, I think, 43. What particularly, where did you have trouble kind of containing him?
I'm at the top of the key on the block. His size was tough to deal with, and he had a heck of a game. Credit to Nikola. Got to help our bigs more as guards. But it's such a quick turnaround. We can't dwell on it, and we got an opportunity tomorrow to right this ship.
What did you like about the way you guys played in the second quarter, specifically compared to the rest of the game?
I think the ball was moving very well, and our defense was fueling our offense as far as not fouling and getting the ball off the rim and pushing the tempo.
So you talked about needing to stuck together, like good decision after good decision. Just why do you think you guys struggle with that at times?
I don't know. I don't. Just it's hard, man. It's a hard business.
I mean, like concerning that there's a lack of focus with so many veterans.
You know what? No, because I've been in this league a long time, and I have all the confidence in the world in this team. I'm not going to be concerned at this point in the season. I know we'll right the ship. I know it in my heart.
All right, so Klay Thompson there, not concerned about the inconsistencies, not concerned about the regular season. Just be healthy, be okay in the postseason. Klay did throw in hopefully with a decent seed, and we'll have to see how that all shakes out. The problem is if you don't take the regular season more seriously, you're not going to have a decent seed come playoff time. And then that's going to make the path, even if you are healthy and confident in your abilities as four-time champions, it's going to make it all the more difficult to be able to run through and be able to make that run. So 888-957-9570. We've got a couple of callers here before we call it an afternoon, but let's go ahead and hear from Steve Kerr at the top of this 4 o'clock hour, Sterling.
You're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ FM in HD1 San Francisco. Always live on Twitch, YouTube, and the free Odyssey app.
And we appreciate everybody watching on Twitch and YouTube here on Warriors Wrap Up. Let's go back to the phones. Couple of calls here. Joe in San Jose is next on 95.7 The Game. Hey, Joe.
Hey, thank you for taking my call. Listen, Jordan Poole, the man cannot defend. And if you cannot defend in the Warrior system, you should be out. And he should be traded. What do you think? Should he be traded?
Well, the short answer is no, not right now, because he's only a $3.9 million player right now, and you can't really trade him as a $3.9 million player because that's essentially all you can take back. So, I've maintained that the Warriors may eventually have to trade Jordan Poole, and just because he got the contract extension, don't necessarily mistake that for the fact that he's going to be on the roster for years to come. But his defense has been an issue. I don't think there's much of a doubt about it. But at the same time, the Warriors also have bigger issues. If their main guys competed harder, part of the reason you can carry Jordan Poole being a sub defender is because you have others on your roster that are going to be competing as defenders at a higher level. And to this point, the others have not helped offset the lack of what Jordan Poole has provided. And look, there's been times where it's just been atrocious. I thought today less so in comparison to some recent games where he's really been attacked more as the primary when he's been on the floor. I think when you're the primary offensive option, you get attacked a lot the other way because teams want to make sure they're scoring on you as much as you're scoring on them and the like. But, trade him now? No, trade him now doesn't help you at this point. Let's go to Tim in Raleigh. What's going on, Tim?
What's up, Jay? I wasn't going to call until, the young man called talking about roster construction. At this point, Jay, it's no need to talk more about roster construction. No need to talk about making moves. When your best players don't even look like they want to be on the court, they can't play fundamental basketball and make passes as though they care. What are we talking about making moves for? Who's going to come in here and change that? And Jordan Poole, his defense, Jay, I mean, we've played sports before and we know about basketball, and that is effort. This young guy doesn't seem like he can care two damns about playing defense. He won't get his body stronger. He's weak out there. And to be that athletic offensively and all these herky-jerky moves you can make, you can move your feet and play fundamental defense. He doesn't even try, Jay. So, I mean, talking about roster construction, all of this stuff, when your top 7 players get out there and don't even look like they want to be on the court. And, Jay, nobody on this team goes to the basket. I mean, Jordan Poole, sometimes we don't have Wiggins don't even use his athletic ability to try and get to the rim. Kuminga does, but he's been told really just neuter your game and don't even try to. I mean, it's just, you look out there and those guys just look like a team that move the ball around the perimeter and jack up threes. And then they don't play defense. So, I mean, it's a lot going on, Jay, but I'm tired of talking about moves and who we're going to get in here. It's got to start from the top guys, and they got to compete. So, but thanks for taking my call, Jay.
Yeah, no, thanks, Tim. I think it goes back to what Bob Myers said to Steiny and Guru going back a couple of weeks ago, and that's the fact that they are going to have to see over this stretch of time how good they can be in an attempt to figure out whether this roster is good enough. And I took it as they have to be good enough to be able to make moves. And the Warriors to this point, and we still have another couple of weeks here to figure it out, but I think to this point they have proved themselves to be not good enough or not worthy of making moves. Like in essence, you have to be good enough to be able to make those moves stand up, and, good enough to where you're one move away if you bring somebody in to where that player is going to help you get over the top. Now, maybe the Warriors veteran players would say they are a player away on that front from being able to get over the top and being able to, be in position to win an NBA championship. And it goes with the little bit of the defiance that we heard from the Klay Thompson post-game press conference there, where, again, he says, not worried about any of it. It's the seeding. It's if they're healthy, they'll be consistent. They'll flip the switch, basically. Now, but Steph Curry, and I'm reading this via Kendra Andrews of ESPN, Steph Curry said the Warriors can't have that mindset, this season, that just, flip the switch. And I agree with Steph in that situation. You can't just you have to actually be good enough. The current team actually has to show that they're good enough to be able to say you can. Like last year's team did that. Last year's team was 18-2. Last year's team was 41-13, and then the injuries happened, and then they coasted down the stretch until they got everybody back. But when they had everybody at different points, or when they didn't have Klay but they did have Jordan Poole until Klay came back, they were clearly good enough to be a championship caliber team. They showed the world. This team has not showed anybody anything other than that regular season games in December and January, even while fully healthy or with your top 7 intact, are beneath them. And that's a mentality that has to get wiped away. Otherwise, this team's going to wind up having to bite them in the ass, and they aren't going to win an NBA championship, and they aren't going to wind up even legitimately contending for an NBA championship this year. Sometimes you might just not be good enough. You may not win it, and that's fine. Like, nobody's sitting here screaming and hollering thinking if you don't win an NBA championship, if you're the Warriors, that the season is some unmitigated, disastrous failure. They may not be good enough. But I think what every Warrior fan wants to see is them to play ass to the wall, ready to go, fight, scratch, and claw on a night in, night out basis to make that run, to not be tricking off regular season games left and right to the point where you don't even have the chance to put your best foot forward come the postseason because you couldn't make it through the regular season. I mean, the Warriors have been so void of this during their time as champions. And look, sometimes the decisions have been made for them because there have been a couple of years where they clearly couldn't win it, and I think that takes some of the pressure off. Like, they were not winning it the year that, either of the years Klay Thompson was hurt and missed the whole year. They weren't winning a title, and everybody knew it. So I think it made it easier to get through. But the Warriors have never been, really, compared to some of these other teams, whether it was the Lakers with load management and injuries, the Clippers. Don't know if Kawhi and Paul George are playing one night to the next. Other teams are shutting people down. Joel Embiid's going to take a powder this night. Kyrie's taking a powder for Brooklyn another night. Durant's in and out of the lineup. But the selective competitiveness for the Warriors have been something that just hadn't been there. And I think this is the year. And even when it was, they still had enough superstar power talent with Durant going back to the 17-18 teams. It really is probably more the 18 championship team and the 19 team that lost to Toronto. Those were the teams where the Warriors were so loaded that even if they were kind of going through the motions at different times, they still had at least two stars playing on a given night at an extremely high level to where they could cover it and win enough to where you knew they had enough. This team, I think, still has to show us. They haven't done it to this point yet, and we'll see if they're capable of doing it. But it starts tomorrow, because if you're 1-1 on this road trip, as the Warriors are now, and you go to Washington, who is a more mediocre team than even the Bulls, and you can't win that game tomorrow against an 18-25 Wizards team, then you're playing Boston and Cleveland. And then you're staring at maybe a 1-3, 1-4 kind of a road trip. And at that point, you come home, and then the climb back to 500 starts all over again here with fewer games to get it right. And who knows if you are just going to be healthy enough at any point to make a run. All of these games you're unable to get now are games where at some point you're going to have to be able to get them back later. But later, you may find yourself not being healthy enough. All right, that'll do it for this one. Appreciate everybody who called. Appreciate everybody who texted in. Quick turnaround for the Warriors. Quick turnaround for me, as I'll be back with you 11 a.m. tomorrow. That's a half hour earlier start on the MLK holiday, as the Warriors and the Wizards to go at it at noon from the nation's capital. 11 o'clock for Warriors Live right here on 95.7 The Game. Thanks to Sterling Bennett. Thanks to everybody in our San Francisco studios. Tough one for the Warriors. Bulls beat them in this one 132-118. We'll talk to you tomorrow right here on 95.7 The Game.
When I can't sleep, my mind just races. I think about work, the kids, but I don't think about taking melatonin because I'm afraid I'll feel groggy in the morning.
ZzzQuil Pure Z's Gummies has an optimal dose of melatonin for no next-day grogginess, so you can fall asleep naturally and wake up feeling refreshed. ZzzQuil Pure Z's Gummies for better sleep like never before. And try Pure Z Sleep Plus Next Day Energy with melatonin plus extended-release B vitamins.